Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group and senior editor at AutoFin Journal and Subprime Auto Finance News. For this webinar titled Six Local SEO Myths That Need Busting for Dealerships, we have a great session in store planned with Haley Sontag and Taylor Blagan from Podium. But before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping items for today's session. We are recording today's webinar and we'll make that recording available to you via a link contained in an email message, and we'll send that to you as soon as possible. You'll be in listen-only mode for today's webinar, but we will reserve some time after the presentation from Haley and Taylor to have a Q&A session. You can submit some questions at any time through the chat function here on the Zoom platform. So enough from me, let's get straight to Haley Sontag and Taylor Blegan from Podium. Take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nick. We're really excited to be here today and go over these 6 local SEO myths that need busting for dealerships. We have a ton of content. We're really excited to jump in. So I'm going to go over the agenda here first. We're going to, as the title suggests, go over those 6 local SEO myths. And then we're going to jump into what your business can start doing now to rank higher in local search. And then we're going to end with a step-by-step guide of how to get more reviews. A little preview right here. Reviews play a huge part in determining ranking for local search. So we've dedicated an entire section to that to help you rank higher there. And like Nick was saying, my name is Haley Sontag. I'm a senior marketing specialist here at Podium, and I'm joined by Taylor. He is an expert in all things auto. He works with auto dealerships all day, every day. So we're excited to have him and the insights that he can bring. We are going to, before we get started, Taylor's going to start us off, but we did want to, before that, hear from the audience. We have a poll question here, and we want you to just put your answers in the chat box there. So when was the last time that you searched for your dealership online? Was it a few days ago, a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a few years ago, or longer? If there's another option that's not there, feel free to put that in. We see Kaylin said today. That's great. We love to hear that. But let's let some more answers come in. When was the last time that you searched for your dealership? Just either by name or searched for a dealership near me. Aaron says almost every day. Neil says yesterday. We're seeing a trend here, which is great to see. We do have another poll question later on in the presentation, so look out for that. We want to make this as interactive as possible, so we'd love to hear from the audience, either with these poll questions. If you have any comments or questions throughout, feel free to submit those as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Taylor, and he's going to get us started on our first section.
Hey, thanks, Haley. Pleasure to be here with everyone. Glad to see there's so many savvy business owners here that are, keeping a pulse on what's being said online, because let's face it, that is the storefront these days. It's where, the majority of traffic is going to find businesses that they want to visit and go to. And, we're going to be able to bust some myths around that. So let's go to the next slide here, and let's get down to brass tacks and, bust some myths. So first myth is organic search and local search are the same. Fact of the matter is that's false. So it can be a little bit confusing, these two different terms. Let's go to the next slide and kind of break it down a little bit. So organic SEO, it's based off the relevance of search terms. I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say toothpaste. If I'm in the market, I need some toothpaste, or actually, let's say that I'm just wanting to get some articles or some information about toothpaste. If I search that on Google, well, it's going to bring up different articles and information about it, maybe a Wikipedia article. That's organic search. Local search is when you signal to Google that you're looking for something based off location. So using that same example of toothpaste of, hey, I asked Google toothpaste near me or stores with toothpaste near me. You've now gone from organic SEO to local SEO simply based off the fact that you've now let Google know that's what you're looking for. Something to keep in mind, 46% of all Google searches are looking for local information. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of searches every single day that are specifically looking for business that is local and near them. Let's go to myth number 2. Reviews are just a nice to have. Okay, let's bust that myth. It's false. As simple as that. Next slide. At the end of the day, reviews are an absolute must-have. There's a lot of metrics that go into it, a lot of information that shows how we rank locally has a big impact, or our reviews have a huge impact on that. Customers, they're turning to reviews before they make buying decisions for all types of things. I mean, it's kind of silly, but we've got a lot of local taquerias around here in Utah. Me and my brother, we love to find those different places, and he'll text me and say, hey, I found this great place, you ought to go to it. Well, tell you what, and our customers are doing the same thing. The first thing they do is they go on Google, they search that place, and depending on what they see, they're going to make a gut call on whether or not they're going to trust that recommendation. Because at the end of the day, there's power in group consensus. So reviews, everyone's using them. I mean, heck, even my parents are using them, and they're in their 70s at this point. So it's really everyone. So at this point, it's no longer just a nice to have. It's really a must have, and how customers are finding businesses they want today.
And we will, like I said earlier, we'll jump back into reviews towards the end of the presentation of how you can get more reviews, why they're important, and what consumers are looking at when they're looking at for reviews, both consumers and Google. But for now, we're going to move on to myth number 3, which is the way that consumers discover business hasn't changed much over the past few years. That, again, is false. The fact is the way that consumers are discovering your dealership is changing. It's changed over the past 10 years. It's changed over the past 5 years. It's changed over the past 1 year. Think how many things have changed in the past year since March of 2020. It's continually changing. So it's sometimes a little bit difficult to keep up, but it's important to follow those trends and give customers what they're looking for. 81% of Americans own a smartphone. So more than 8 in 10 Americans own a smartphone, and that has gone up 9% since 2017. That's a huge number. Consumers aren't looking up the phone book. They're not driving around their area hoping to run into a dealership. They're pulling out that computer in their pocket that's known as a smartphone, and they're searching for dealerships near me. Maybe it's a specific dealership, maybe it's more general, but they're searching for dealerships near them on their phone. To add on to that stat that Taylor gave earlier, that almost half of all Google searches, think of all of the searches that happen on Google every single day, almost half of those are looking for location information. And then almost 80% of those that are on a mobile search or a mobile device result in an offline purchase. So half of all searches, and then you take 80% of those, result in an offline purchase. So consumers are pulling out their phone, they're searching for car dealerships near me, and then they're using that information to purchase a vehicle. Or if they're searching for service, oil change near me, they're doing that because they're looking for a business or a dealership that can solve their problem. They have that intent to buy. And that's why it's so important to show up in local search, is because of that intent to buy. This is something that Google actually calls micro moments, where somebody searches for a term with the intent to buy and just need to be connected with the right business. You want to show up when someone's searching for that, because you can solve their problem and you can do it in a great way. So let's make sure that you're getting found. Moving on to myth number 4. Consumers want the best and they're willing to travel to get this or to get it. This myth is partly true, but overall we are going to say that it is false, because the fact is that consumers, yes, they want the best and they want it close by. These two stats we have here are crazy. The searches for best burger have increased 400% year over year. So it's 4x. The amount of those searchers have grown 4 times year over year. However, near me or close by type searches grew by more than 900% over 2 years. So yes, customers want the best, but they also want it close by. They're looking for those those local search results. They're not so much looking for organic search results. They want businesses that are close by that are the best. They want the quality and the convenience. Okay, Taylor's going to take us through myth number 5.
So myth number 5, print and online advertising drive in-person visits. It's false. What we know is that local smartphone searches drive in-person visits. As Haley mentioned, over 8 in 10 Americans have a smartphone. It's their primary way of being connected to their friends, family, and business these days. The fact of the matter is, as well, is there's a lot of different ways in which businesses, car dealerships in general, can spend money to try to drive traffic to their storefront. We're all familiar with them, whether they're mailer campaigns or traditional broadcast media, advertising. But at the end of the day, all of these different types of outlets are going to drive your customer to a local Google search, and they're going to make a gut feeling based off of what they see on your page and other things on whether or not they want to continue down that road. So, every minute that we put and invest into optimizing our Google business page, every dollar we put into optimizing our Google page is going to have a compounding effect on any other type of way that we're investing money to have people find our business. As well, local smartphone search, or excuse me, Google, next myth here, Google just prioritizes the best ranking businesses regardless of whether or not they're local. Let's bust that myth as well. It's false. Google, they prioritize local businesses and the results for local searches. That's specifically why we need to focus, and it's why we broke myth 1 of, hey, what's the difference between organic search and local search? We need to know how to play both ballparks here, and by focusing on specifically on local search, we're going to make sure that we come up most often at the top of the map pack when people are in the market for purchasing something local. So here's how Google actually determines local search rankings. There's a couple different things that come up. One is relevance. Does your listing match what the customer is looking for? Obviously, if they're in the market for toothpaste near them, it's not going to bring up car dealerships or something like that. But as well, this kind of piggybacks off what Haley had mentioned, is there's 2 things that people want. They want the best and they want it done conveniently and quickly. So distance is also incredibly important. How far away are you from someone? But actually what we've seen is the metrics for your prominence in terms of, your ranking on Google with your reviews can oftentimes be even more important. How often is your business being visited in the offline world? Is your business being reviewed regularly? We've seen oftentimes that despite the fact that one dealership might be further away, if another dealership has better, stronger, and more consistent review metrics, or just a better optimized Google My Business page, Google at times can prioritize them simply based off the fact that they're playing their game in terms of local SEO.
And we're going to jump into what you can do to help build each of these categories. Relevance and distance, you can't necessarily change those very easily. If somebody searches for toothpaste, you're not going to show up, nor do you want to show up if somebody's searching for toothpaste. And you can't control where somebody is when they're searching for car dealerships near them. But with those two categories, what you can do is you can make those more obvious, both to Google and to the customers. And then prominence, that's where we'll jump in at the end. Reviews play a huge part in building up your prominence and making you seem more credible. So let's jump into how to start optimizing your directory listings. We have several steps here. We're going to jump into each of them a little bit more, but as an overview, you want to claim your business, review and update details, upload photos, include keywords, and then keep your hours of operation up to date. A little pro tip here, when we say directory listings, what we mean is your Google My Business listing, we mean your Facebook page, we mean wherever your business is showing up when somebody is searching for dealerships. That's a directory listing. So wherever your business is showing up, you want to make sure that your name, address, and phone number, this is also known as the NAP, that they are exactly the same across all of your profiles as well as on your website. The reason this is so important, it sounds really simple, but this is crucial because what it will do is it will tell Google and other search engines that all of these listings belong to the same business, which will build that prominence that we talked about and help you to rank higher. So if you spell out street, S-T-R-E-E-T on your website, spell out street, S-T-R-E-E-T on your Google My Business listing and on your Facebook page and all of your directory listings. Make sure that they are exactly the same to help link all of those listings together. And we're going to talk a lot about Google since that is the most preferred search engine of choice, but that's going to also be relevant in other search engines. We're going to jump in now of how you can claim your Google My Business listing. This is a crucial first step. If you haven't done this already, we highly recommend and encourage you to start this process today. If you do not have a listing, you cannot show up for local searches. We've talked a lot about local searches that come in the form of best or dealership near me. Another aspect of local search is when somebody searches for your dealership by name. So if they search for Joe's Auto Dealership, and you don't have a directory listing, if you don't have a Google My Business page, what will happen is organic search results will come up, and maybe your website's one of them, maybe your Facebook page is one of them, but there will be a list of websites that that customer can search or can click on, or potential customer, I might say. And it's harder for them to know which one is your website. But if you have your listing and they search for your dealership by name, they will still get the organic search results, but on the right-hand side of their screen, it'll take up almost half of the screen. They'll see your Google My Business listing, which we have here on the screen, a picture of what one might look like. And that will tell them all the information that they're looking for. And if they can't find the information they're looking for, it'll give them a way to contact you directly or to go to your website. That is why it's so important to get your listing claimed so that customers can find you easily. They want convenience both in distance as well as in their journey. You want to remove friction of them finding you and contacting you so it's easier for them to do business with you. Again, a lot of you may have already done this, but if you haven't, the way you do it is, one, you'll need a personal Google account. You'll navigate to Google My Business, search for your dealership by name. You can also use the address, and then you'll want to confirm the information. This last step is how you'll get admin access to your listing, and that's through verification. The most common way for Google to verify that you are either the owner, the GM, an employee at that dealership is to send a postcard with a verification code. It's about 5 or 6 digits to the dealership's physical address. That takes about 5 days. And once you get that, you can navigate back to Google My Business, to fill out the code and get access to your listing. Again, this is free and easy. It's something that you can start today. We highly recommend doing this. And a pro tip here too, especially for auto dealerships, is we've seen a lot of success, and Taylor, maybe you can speak to this a little bit too, but we've seen a lot of success when dealerships have claimed a separate listing for the service side of their business. And the reason for that is when people are searching for auto or for oil change near me or auto repair near me, they may not necessarily know or care if there's a car dealership or if the car dealership can fulfill their need. And so if they're searching for that and you have your Google My Business listing for your service center, then that can pull up and give them the information that they're looking for. Do you have anything to add there, Taylor?
Yeah, I would just say it's something that I'm actually seeing happen pretty often, at least in the OEM industry, that the OEMs are asking their dealers, and sometimes even setting up these additional Google pages within their Google My Business main account. So for example, if they'll search whatever dealership, well, within the Google map pack page here, it will also say departments underneath, and that's where these other GMBs have actually in some cases already been set up. But if they're sitting there and a dealership doesn't know about them, it's typically, and it often can be actually kind of a sore spot, because if there's not much attention placed on them, well, then you oftentimes have random stragglers leaving negative reviews. So although your main maybe sales GMB has positive good review flow, these other additional ones might be getting additional like stragglers coming in, and they might be suffering from a low star ranking simply based off the fact that it has such a low quantity of reviews. If we're able to optimize that and focus on it, then certainly we can drive more local traffic into our business on the service side or Quick Clean or wherever.
Yeah, so the tips that we're going to go over here are going to be relevant for both or all however many Google My Business listings you have. But you don't want to just claim a listing and then forget about it. You want to do a little bit maintaining to make sure that it's growing in prominence, and the relevance and distance as well are visible to Google. So once you claim your listing, you'll want to add some more information and fill in the blanks. So is what we have written here. You'll want to start by answering where you are. Put your physical address so that you can rank for people that are searching near you, and that they know once they set an appointment, or if they're walk-in, if you allow walk-ins, they know where your dealership is. Then you'll want to answer what you do. There is a spot when you are claiming your Google My Business listing to tell the industry that you're in. You will want to put there that you are an auto dealership so that you're showing up for auto dealership type searches. And then you'll want to put your hours of operation on your Google My Business listing and make sure that those are always up to date. You do not want a potential customer to look you up online, choose your business, come to your lot, only to find that you're closed. So whether it's holidays, a global pandemic, weather conditions, if your hours are different from your usual hours on a particular day, make sure you're updating those so that customers know not to come to your lot. Once you've done all that, you can move on a little bit further. You can add photos, pictures, draw people's eyes to your listing, and profiles with pictures actually see 35% more click-throughs than businesses that don't. If you do not upload pictures on your Google My Business listing, the default image is going to be the Google Maps street view of your dealership, which may or may not be what you want potential customers to see as their first impression of your business. So take out that smartphone that most of us own, take a couple pictures of your lobby, of your lot, of your storefront, of maybe some examples of cars that you have on the lot, take some pictures and upload them there. You'll also want to add keywords. So let people know in the description of your Google My Business listing what you do. This is a great opportunity to sell your business in your own words. Give a 1 or 2 sentence pitch of why someone should pick your dealership over the next one. This last one here is adding metadata. This is not visible to Google, or this is not visible to searchers, but it is visible to Google, unlike keywords, which are visible to both searchers and Google. One example of adding metadata is when you're uploading pictures, instead of having the file name be img0075, change the name of that image on your computer to car dealership lobby in Los Angeles, California. Put that there and then upload it, because that is readable by Google and may help your rankings there. That was a lot of information. This is all pretty much what you need to do to set up your listing or listings. Obviously, you want to make sure this information is always up to date and maintain it there. But now we're going to jump into what you can do once you've added all this information and you've claimed your listing, what you can do to start ranking higher above the competition when somebody searches for car dealerships near me. And that, like we mentioned earlier, is with online reviews.
Yeah, so let's dive into a little bit about the metrics and statistics behind reviews. I think we all know, the importance of them from, consumer facing, but the data is pretty illuminating here. And I think we've learned so far today as well that, not only are reviews important from the customer's perspective, but also Google's perspective. How they rank us in local SEO has a big impact on our business, and therefore we need to figure out a way of making sure that we're at the top of those rankings. So going through these, 87% of consumers, they say that reviews influence them in discovering a local business. I know that I do this pretty consistently, and I know that it's not just me, obviously. 46% of consumers have read an online review in the last 3 days. We're constantly buying things, and when we're constantly buying things, we're constantly looking at the reviews. We want to feel good. We want to feel safe in our buying decisions, and we rely on other people's opinions, and specifically, the group think when we do that. And 3.3 is the minimum star rating of a business that consumers would even consider engaging with. Maybe reflect that on yourself. If you saw two competing businesses in an area and one was at a 3.3 and the other was at a 4.3, how much more willing are you to go to that 4.3 versus that 3.3? So it's time to take control of this and to really make sure that we're getting to the top of the search rankings here. And let's face it, the car industry, I can't think of another industry that might get a worse rap other than maybe the guys over at like Jiffy Lube or something, so it's a matter of, hey, this is what people oftentimes, they have a preconceived notion. Let's make sure we bust that notion and show that, hey, we take care of our customers, and we've got the evidence to prove it. So we can move to the next slide. So here's the deal though. 67% of businesses, they report having a average star rating above a 4.0. So we have to figure out, how do we stand out among the crowd, right? In the industry that we're in, oftentimes we're selling a commodity here. So we have to figure out ways to win between the lines. And there's a lot of ways that we can win between the lines when it just comes to our reviews. Go ahead and next slide then. So most people, when they think of reviews, they're typically thinking of two things: the star rating and the overall quantity of the reviews. But 83% of consumers, they agree, or some would agree, that reviews must be recent and relevant in order to really even care about them. So let's break down each one of these. So the first one, recency, is just about having a steady flow of reviews, or excuse me, we don't want all of our reviews to be 6 months ago or the bulk of them. I've seen oftentimes within the auto industry, we see that this is an issue that we want to get on top of and solve, and we send out maybe an incentive or something and get a really big, kick in the butt, and so to say, to get our reviews up, and then we kind of forget about it. The fact of the matter is Google doesn't look at that as recent data then. The second part of this is frequency, and that's more about having that constant drip on our local SEO of collecting reviews on a daily and weekly basis, so that we are constantly at the top of those search results. And then the last two we're very familiar with. Obviously, we want to have good quality reviews, high star rating. If our customers can attach a picture, have a little comment in there, the easier we can make it for them, the better and more likely that they'll do it. And then the last one obviously is quantity. 69% of consumers, they agree or somewhat agree that they just don't trust a high review rating unless there is a high quantity of reviews. So, it goes two ways. One, it breeds confidence in your star rating when you have a lot of reviews, but it also, protects our downside. If we've only got 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 reviews, well, each negative review in turn hurts us a lot more than, say, if we had 1,000 positive reviews, because they're going to come, we're going to get negative reviews. We can't avoid them entirely. The best thing that we can do to avoid that, drastically hurting us is just, get a ton of positive reviews. And, let's face it, the fact of the matter is most of your customers are having positive experiences. We just need an easy way of getting that, that voiced online. So go ahead in the next slide. So how often do you receive new reviews online? Let's do another poll here. So go ahead and type in the chat. Are you guys receiving a review, every day, multiple times a day, maybe a couple times a week, a few times a month, or maybe even, less than that, maybe a couple times a year?
Yeah, let's give a few seconds for the audience to type those in just in the chat or in the Q&A. And while we're waiting, Taylor, what have you seen with the dealerships you've talked to? What do you feel like is the most common amount of time for a dealership to be receiving new reviews?
It just depends on a couple different things. One, the people that we have in place, different incentives that we'll put out among the dealership in order to get our team involved and, getting bought into the importance of these reviews, as well as how it's going to impact them personally. I've got dealerships who swear by it that, they have individual salespeople and managers. People will come in and specifically ask for that person simply just because they saw their name pop up on reviews often enough on Google. And then the second part of that is obviously having the right tool to accomplish that. We can get buy-in and have our team, but the second part of that is, how easy is it for the customer to then leave that review? If it's a long process and they have to jump through multiple hoops, well, oftentimes I find it's difficult to then get them to leave those reviews. So one, we need to get our teams invested and see the benefit it has to them to collect more reviews, but then we need to enable our customers and our team to make that entire process extremely easy. If you can nail those two things, there's no reason why we couldn't, see an immediate impact in terms of your results.
That's a perfect segue into our last section, which is great. Reviews are important. It's great to have recent, frequent, quality, and a large quantity of reviews, but how do you actually gather those high quality reviews? How do you get more customers to leave reviews online to help you rank higher? The first step we have here, this may seem a bit obvious, but the first step is to deliver high quality customer service. If you aren't offering great service, then people aren't going to be giving you 5-star reviews. However, we know that if you're on this webinar, if you're trying to rank higher, make your business better, most people on here probably already offer great service to your customers. So we won't spend a ton of time on this slide, but like the slide says, focusing on the customer experience will build an army of advocates willing to ride or die for your business. People want to leave reviews. If they're getting great service, they'll leave great reviews. The second step we have here is to set expectations for reviews. Let customers know when and how they'll be receiving the review invitations and why it's important. 77% of people are willing to leave a review if you ask them. That's a large majority. 77% of people are willing to leave a review if you ask them. So let's ask them. If they're willing to leave a review, ask customers, set those expectations. Maybe it's while they're waiting for the financing paperwork to be filled out, or they have a few minutes in the dealership waiting for you to finalize everything. Say, hey, would you mind taking this time to leave us a review and let us know how we've been doing? That's a great time. It doesn't take very long. Ask them to leave a review and set those expectations. We do see, however, that while a large majority of people are willing to leave a review if you ask, not everyone does. So to take this one step further, the last step that we have here is invite via text. Like Taylor was saying, you need to make it really easy for people to leave reviews. People may be willing to leave reviews, but they don't because of friction and because of barriers. Maybe they don't know how. Maybe it's too many clicks to find you on Google, find your Google My Business listing, see where to leave a review, leave the review, and click submit. But if you do a lot of the work for them, make it so easy that they don't have any reason not to leave a review, you will get so many more reviews. And those, if you're delivering high quality service, they'll be 5-star reviews, and you'll be getting them on a consistent basis if you're making it easy and asking every single customer for a review. Customers are already on their phones, so meet them where they're at. Send them those invitations on their phones. Text messages have an open rate of 99%. I'm going to say that one more time. Text messages have an open rate of 99%. And 90% of those are opened within the first 3 minutes of being received. So customers are on their phone. They prefer to communicate with you via text more than they do email. So send them a text with a link directly to your Google My Business listing so that they can leave reviews, not only be willing, but actually leave those reviews, which will help paint an accurate picture online of the service that you provide, instead of letting the few unhappy customers leave bad reviews and make it seem like you don't offer great service. Let the silent, happy majority of your customers paint that picture online for future potential customers. That's everything that we have for today. We're going to turn it back over to Q&A, to Nick to do Q&A. If we don't get to your question, or if you have questions after the webinar, or you tried some of these tips and they work or don't work, we'd love to hear from you, be here as a resource for you. We'd also love to talk to you to see if Podium's a good option for you to help you get some of these reviews and text your customers. But feel free to reach out to us at any of the ways on the screen. You can go to our website, is podium.com. You can text or call us at 1-833-276-3486, or you can email us at webinars@podium.com, and we'll make sure that your question, story, feedback, whatever it is, we'll make sure it gets to the right person to get that answered. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Nick.
Haley, Taylor, thank you so much for the excellent presentation. A lot of great information and best practice suggestions for any size dealership to leverage. And certainly, if you do have any questions for our experts, Haley Sontag and Taylor Blagan of Podium, just use the chat function or the Q&A button there on the bottom of the Zoom platform. And one of the first questions that came in, and certainly want to open it up to each of you to discuss and react to, certainly, especially larger dealerships could have multiple segments of their business. They're retailing vehicles, likely have a prominent service drive, maybe even a collision center too, and they're all at the same physical address, and it perhaps could be kind of a jumbled situation as far as the Google My Business situation. What have you advised clients who have multiple segments of a large operation that someone might be trying to search, and it's all within the same physical location, to make sure everything is set as far as being able to be found? Each of you, how have you approached that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question and a valid concern. You don't necessarily want your service center showing up when somebody is looking to purchase a car. For that, what I would recommend doing is, however many distinct departments of your dealership you have and you want for secondary listings, create those listings. And in the title, you'll want to keep the name of your dealership as the first part of it. And after that, say what department that is. So Joe's Auto Service Center, Joe's Auto Sales Center, whatever it is, put that in the title to help Google know which listing to serve up. Google's purpose in local search is to give searchers the information they're looking for. So if you make the information obvious to Google, they're going to serve up the right listing that they think is right. So one, with the name, that's a great place to do it. Two, when you are putting the business category, you don't necessarily want to do too many business categories there, but put the main one. So when people are searching for auto repair, Google knows that your service side of this, your service center Google My Business listing is the right listing to serve up. So your name, your category, you can put it in the description. And another one too, we didn't necessarily go over, but with the reviews, when you're setting expectations and asking customers for reviews, you can ask them about specific aspects of their experience. So if it is somebody on the service side of your business, you could say, hey, would you mind leaving us a review about this specific service that you received today? Asking them, prompting them in that sort of way about a specific aspect of their experience may lead to them specifically mentioning service or auto repair or oil change in their review. And those keywords can help you rank higher, build that prominence for those searches. So there's not an awesome way to do this, but we would recommend trying to separate them as much as you can control, and then hopefully going along the process, Google will eventually find out which one searchers will be looking for. I don't know if you had anything to add there, Taylor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, optimizing each department within our dealership is hugely important. I've seen a lot of my larger dealerships put an extra emphasis on service or, their body shop. And this parlays into an opportunity to oftentimes sell a vehicle. If someone's in the market for repairing their vehicle, and you guys are starting to show up more often on local search because you've put a focus on optimizing that specific department Google My Business page. Well, now they're taking their car to you guys rather than taking it to a different repair shop that specifically only does that. And now I've got dealerships who tell me, yeah, we're getting more people in on this side of the department, and we can basically say, hey, look, it's going to take X amount of dollars to fix your car or to do this. We've actually got some new vehicle options. If you guys want, we could actually trade this car in and get you into a better car with maybe a payment that's less. I mean, believe me, this is an area where a lot of my dealerships have seen a great advantage in doing that.
Very good. Again, our special guests for today's webinar are Haley Sontag and Taylor Blagan from Podium, busting the 6 myths of SEO and dealerships. And to round us out, as you referenced during your presentation, we're good, bad, or otherwise, we're 1 year into this pandemic, and thankfully it appears some brighter days are ahead for us all. Thankfully, maybe Haley, will begin with you, and then Taylor, the last word. Just whether in your client work with Podium, maybe a personal anecdote, just some thoughts about how the pandemic has impacted, whether it's reviews, online activities, et cetera. Again, either from your client work at Podium or your own personal experience, and what you see as maybe some lasting imprints that the pandemic has made, perhaps maybe focused on the dealership world and how they will function going forward. Haley, we'll begin with you, and then Taylor, the last word to round us out today.
Yeah, of course. That's a big question. A lot has changed in the last year with not only dealerships, but every industry that there is, with everything shutting down and things moving to be more digital. I would say in terms of reviews, those haven't necessarily changed a lot. They were always very important to customers. With the things that have changed with reviews is recency has become even more important to customers, with places opening and closing and reopening and reclosing and reopening. I know things have been a little bit more stable in the past few months, but if your most recent review was from 7 months ago, a lot has changed since then, and customers might not know if you're even open or what your process looks like now, what they can expect. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and so customers are looking to Google My Business listings, Facebook pages, and websites to understand what they can expect at a dealership. And so you want to give them that information. You want to take that uncertainty out of doing business with your dealership so that they are confident. They know exactly what their experience is going to be like, whether there are different procedures, whether they need to text you when they get there for an appointment or set up an appointment at all, whether they need to wear a mask, what your dealership is doing to keep your staff members safe as well as them safe. Maybe you do curbside concierge. We've seen that that's been something that's popped up a lot. But I would say the two most important things are give customers the information they're looking for in an easy way. And then two, another big surge we've seen is through messaging. Obviously, digital retailing is another conversation that we could talk about for a long time. But I would say messaging, communicating with customers both through your Google My Business page, your website, as well as one-on-one through either phone or text, whatever is most preferable to them. It's kind of the biggest trend we've seen.
Well said, Haley. Thank you. Taylor, how about from you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my dealers, they've noticed these trends, certainly before the pandemic, that more people are wanting to communicate digitally, especially in the early part of the sale. They're trying to collect information, look at, their options. And, you ask any of these dealers these days, it's, maybe 15, 20 years ago, the story was, hey, mom, dad, and all the kids pile into the Suburban. We visit maybe 4 or 5 different dealerships trying to figure out which one we're going to buy. You just don't see that today. It's one, maybe 2, but oftentimes it's just one. So it makes it that much more important that once someone's in your store, to make sure they're there to buy, and it's your sale to lose at that point often. But it's all about how do we make sure that we can connect that digital world to our the local world. And I can think of just myself over the past year, how my buying trends have changed. I use DoorDash more than I ever had before. I'm using delivery of my groceries. I mean, hell, even if we look in the industry with the Carvanas and just the big companies that have exploded over the past, decade or so, the Netflixes and the Amazons, the cornerstone of their offering is just about simplicity and convenience and being easy to, utilize online. So the more that we can, adapt to that trend, how people want to communicate, we're going to be able to win between the lines. So it's all about really just making ourselves available, simple and easy to communicate with, and then get people the information they want, so that way they can feel comfortable stopping in. And because I think at the end of the day, people still want to do business in the dealership. It's just the way that they're finding dealerships and connecting with them. We need to make sure that we're at the tip of the spear. Podium's a great tool to help dealerships do that.
Indeed. That's Taylor Blagan, Haley Sontag with Podium. Again, their contact information is there on the screen, podium.com, the number to call or text, as well as their direct email address, webinars@podium.com, to be able to reach them directly, as well as the number there, 833-276-3476. Taylor, Haley, thank you so much for the great recommendations, and certainly all the best to you and your colleagues for continued health and success.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
And for all of us at Cherokee Media Group, we thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you again next time.